Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
You can't have failed to have heard about the Ebola virus in West Africa. I'll find out who's looking after our interests when it comes to diseases overseas, and I'll speak to NaTHNaC. You find out what NaTHNaC means. And also Las Vegas and Nevada. Why should you visit there? All that's coming up on the Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Hello and welcome to the Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. I've got two guests on this week's show. In a moment I'll be speaking to Dipti from NaTHNaC. What does NaTHNaC stand for and what does it do? You'll find out in a few moments. And later in the show I'll speak to Leanne, who represents the tourist boards for Las Vegas and Nevada. Okay, NaTHNaC, what does it stand for? Well, it stands for I'm going to have to get this right, the National Travel Health Network and Centre. They're an organisation who look at diseases worldwide to see how it affects the British traveller. And with the Ebola virus in the news at the moment, I wanted to find out more about the organisations that look out for us when it comes to travel and our own well-being. So earlier this week I spoke to Dipti from NaTHNaC, and she explained who they are and what they do, and here's the interview that we had. Dipti, what is the National Travel Health Network and Centre?
National Travel Health Network and Centre, or NaTHNaC, is a public organisation which was created with the broad goal of protecting the health of British travellers. We're commissioned by Public Health England and hosted by University College London Hospital. And we provide support to both travellers and health professionals through a variety of routes.
How long have you been going?
So we were created by the Department of Health in 2002, and we're now, as I said, commissioned by Public Health England, but we've been continuing for over 10 years now.
Okay. The Ebola outbreak is in the news a lot at the moment. Is this something that you monitor?
So we do monitor it. We have a team of nurses and an analyst who scans every day for a variety of outbreaks occurring worldwide. They use a variety of internet sources to do this and other resources. And what we scan for is anything that's likely to have an impact on British travellers. And obviously the current Ebola situation is one that has got the potential to impact on British travellers. So we monitor what's going on a daily basis and work closely with, in this case, particularly one of our partners, Public Health England, to ensure that any advice that we're providing relating to the outbreak is evidence-based, practical and considered, and not alarmist. In this particular case, we've also been liaising quite frequently with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, as they obviously put out travel advisories as well, and they'll base their health advice on what we will be saying. For travellers, this is for people going out. Our advice isn't for people coming back. That sits within the remit of Public Health England. Mm-hmm.
So you're monitoring all these diseases around the world. How would a traveller find out about them?
So what we generally do is our analysts scan for diseases in the morning, and we will update. We have something called an outbreak surveillance database on our website, and if you go into that, you can find out about what diseases are occurring worldwide. Now, we'll only report on the ones that we think will be of relevance to British travellers, and we have a lot of criteria for deciding what we'll report on. But the main thing we'll say to people is that if it's got an impact, we will usually produce something called a clinical update, which is, again, a whole section on our website is related to clinical updates. And that will give advice on what the implications might be for travellers going to particular parts of the world. We also disseminate this information through our social media platforms. So we've got a Twitter presence, so we try and make sure that any updates that we produce are disseminated through Twitter. But we also have a Facebook page as well, where we'll put articles of interest on there as well.
Are health emergencies such as the Ebola outbreak a common occurrence? Does it happen regularly each year, or is it quite rare? Yeah,
so it's not common. these sorts of emergencies are quite rare. We rely on the World Health Organization to alert us to these sorts of situations where perhaps there are more strengthened public health measures that need to be put in place. But in the last year, there have been a couple of things that have sort of caused WHO to sort of highlight that we need to be more vigilant around certain outbreaks overseas.
Are there diseases that seem to be regularly occurring?
From our perspective, there are things that we will also always be concerned about for British travellers. So, for example, the things like malaria, dengue fever will always be of relevance to travellers going overseas. But of course, there will be other things like travellers' diarrhoea that we'll be concerned about, and non-infectious disease risks. So, in particular, road traffic accidents or travellers going out with pre-existing health problems which get worse when they go overseas. So, there's always things that we will be concerned about. But they don't tend to make the sort of alert the media in the same way. They don't have the same sort of interest.
Okay. With diseases that people catch when they're away, it's generally, well, I'm not very medical, so I'll just assume that most of the problems come from insect bites. Is that true?
Lots of different ways that diseases are spread. If you're talking about infectious diseases, insect bites is one of the things that you're concerned about. Obviously, food and water. Borne diseases, so diseases spread by drinking contaminated water or eating contaminated food, and then also sometimes close contact with individuals who may be carrying an infection.
Back to the insect bites, what's the best way to prevent being bitten?
So what we'd normally say is that there's various things that you can do to prevent being bitten. First of all, be aware of the risk, so know whether there is a risk where you're going of insect-borne diseases or particular insects. Try and avoid areas that are heavily infested. So particularly things like mosquitoes might like certain environments. Wear appropriate clothing. So we'd say wear loose-fitting clothing, long trousers, long sleeves. Obviously, that can be quite problematic if you're going to a tropical destination and you want to and it's quite hot. And then the other thing we'd say is use insect repellents. So particularly for mosquitoes, we would advise on something called DEET-based insect repellent. They're the most effective. They've been widely tested and in use for many, many years, and they're probably the best protection you'll have against certain types of insects, particularly mosquitoes.
Each year, lots of people I get bitten a lot, and each year people offer me advice about what works for them. Are there any common, what meant to be preventions, which haven't been clinically tested that really don't work?
Yeah, so there are some sort of things that people talk about as being helpful for insect bites, and that aren't evidence-based at all. We've got information on our website around those, but people talk about things like garlic, B12, bath oil, yeast extract, electric buzzers, vitamin B1 and tea tree oil. None of those work. Citronella oil-based repellents, some do work, but they don't work for very long periods, so you would constantly have to be reapplying them if you use them. So there are things that really aren't, the evidence isn't there in terms of their efficacy.
Okay, I'll just spend the whole of my holiday sitting next to an air conditioning unit. I'll be fine.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock. Coming up, we've got Eric and Ernie. Join me here on Seclo Sounds.
In your smile.
It's from 1975. Eric and Ernie were four...
Gary, it's not Eric and Ernie, it's Earl and Ernie, the Cape Brothers, Union Man.
Oh, I see. Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock.
Earl and Ernie.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Still to come, we find out how easy it is to get married in Las Vegas. But at the moment, I'm speaking to Dipti from NaTHNaC. And the NaTHNaC is spelt NaTHNaC, and not as the way I pronounce it, with an F in it. It's Jan Leeman was in the media talking about how presenters can't pronounce anything. I think she must have listened to all my shows, but hopefully I'm getting a little bit better. So speaking to Dipti, we're talking about what NaTHNaC does and who they are, and we're looking at how to prevent insect bites. And now we're going to start talking about what happens if you have been bitten, what's the best way of treating the bite. And then we're going to move on to more other travel health issues for a tourist. When you have been bitten, what's the best treatment for a bite?
So it depends. I mean, most people will get bitten and they won't actually experience any major problems with them, with the bites. But obviously some people get sort of redness, itching, swelling. So what would you say if it's a minor bite? Wash the affected area with soap and water or keep it clean. You might find putting a cold compress or flannel or cloth cooled with cold water will help reduce the swelling. Trying not to scratch is really important because scratching might cause the bite to become infected. If it looks like the itching and redness is getting worse or it doesn't clear up after a few days, we would recommend people seek medical advice. If it's particularly painful or swollen, you might want to use an ice pack or something on it, take simple painkillers. You can buy sort of local anaesthetic creams from pharmacies or antihistamines that sometimes help the affected area. But if it is severe or it's not really responding to sort of measures, conservative measures, we would suggest that you do go and see a doctor who might prescribe something more potent, particularly if it's an allergic reaction.
Yeah, my wife gets an allergic reaction, but she always refuses to see anybody. They come up really big and throbbing, and you can see them. But I'll make her listen to this and make sure she does it next time.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned that you're also worried about travellers' diarrhoea. My very first holiday, I got that, and the tour rep blamed everybody in the hotel for too much sun and too much alcohol, which were true in my case because I didn't drink and I don't like the sun, so I keep out of it.
Yeah.
But what are the common causes for travellers' tongue?
So travellers' diarrhoea is caused by a number of organisms. And obviously, in a lot of cases, we never get to the bottom of what's caused it. But where the organism has been identified, it's usually bacterial. But you can get viruses that cause travellers' diarrhoea and other types of microorganisms. In many cases, it's really difficult to work out what's caused it. And most people do get it, and it's generally quite minor and self-limiting. So it doesn't really cause a major concern. We would say it's mostly acquired through eating or drinking contaminated food and water. But sometimes just the travel of the stresses of travel, changing in diet, alcohol can actually cause you to get stomach upsets. But mostly it will be an infection. Recreational swimming can be a source of waterborne infections as well. Although swimming pools, hopefully, if the water's treated, shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. The other problem with going away on holiday is the sun. What's the best way to enjoy the sun safely?
So I think probably the best thing is to think of the acronym SMART. It's an easy way of remembering how to reduce your risk of sun exposure-related problems. So S for spend time in the shade between 11 and 3. At the time when the sun is strongest. M, make sure you never burn. A, aim to cover up with a t-shirt, hat, sunglasses. R, remember to take extra care, particularly with children. And then T for using a sunscreen, a factor 15 plus sunscreen.
You said about when to get medical advice when it's an insect bite, but when should you seek advice if you've got an upset stomach or if you've had too much sun? What symptoms should you look out for?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it will sort of when to seek medical advice will depend on a number of factors, including where you've been, what diseases are present where you've travelled to, what your symptoms are, and how severe those symptoms are. I think if you've been to a tropical area where particularly diseases like malaria exist, I think you should seek urgent medical advice if you have any flu-like symptoms or even a high fever, bit of diarrhoea. I think that's the general rule we would say. For minor sort of diarrhea, we'd probably say to people, stay hydrated. If you're feeling well, you probably wouldn't need to seek medical advice. But if you don't improve with minor symptoms within a 3-day period, it might be worthwhile seeking medical advice. And particularly, actually, if you have a fever, very high fever of 38 degrees centigrade or more, if you ever pass blood or mucus in your stool, you should seek medical advice. Or if you're sort of getting worrying symptoms, you're feeling a bit confused, you're getting severe abdominal pain, rashes, or maybe the colour of your skin's changed, we would certainly recommend seeking medical advice. And your tolerance for seeking advice should be much lower. Your threshold for seeking advice should be much lower for the elderly and children or vulnerable travellers, because they may actually not tolerate fluids if they're getting unwell and be more prone to things like dehydration. For sun exposure, I think there's various things that could go wrong. You can get sunburn, or you can get sort of what we call heat exhaustion, or even actually in extreme cases heat stroke. For most minor cases of sunburn, you can manage those yourself. Keeping cool, sponging with lukewarm water, having a cool shower or bath, using cold compresses, drinking plenty of fluids to keep you cool and hydrate you, using moisturiser, things like that would be generally fine for the most minor sunburn. Painkillers may help as well, but if it's severe, you might need a special burn cream or burn dressings, and that's the time that you might want to seek medical advice with GP, nurse or pharmacist. And in some very severe cases, you may actually even have to go to your local hospital to get advice. For heat exhaustion, I think, and heat stroke, I think that they're two related conditions, and they can become very serious if not treated very quickly. And it's particularly difficult to know what's going on, particularly for children, the very elderly, those that've got pre-existing health problems, like kidney problems, heart problems, or diabetes. So I'd always have a lower threshold for seeking medical advice for those groups. But really, for heat exhaustion, if you do get it, you sort of probably just trying to remain hydrated, keeping cool, removing excess clothing. If you're not improving within half an hour or so, you should get further help, because actually, if it's not managed appropriately, you could develop heat stroke. And heat stroke's very serious, and actually is a medical emergency. And in terms of symptoms and signs, it's very difficult, but really being very dry, being confused, having dizziness, headache, muscle cramps, all sort of symptoms and signs of sort of the seriousness of heat exhaustion or heat stroke.
Yes, you've quite worried me now about heat stroke.
It's very rare, but you need to be aware of it, particularly for the vulnerable people.
Yeah, I need to go everywhere in a hack, so I have no hair on my head, so maybe I'll be a bit safer.
Yeah.
This is Seklo Sounds. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for 1 hour in the company of Harry and Edna on the wireless, exploring all aspects of the vintage scene and playing tip-top gramophone tunes. Harry and Edna on the wireless, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on seklosounds.org. Jolly good.
Hi, blessings to each and every one of you. Join me, Darren Hoy, with the Reggae Takeover Show for 2 hours of the finest reggae vibes, each and every Wednesday, 9 through to 11 p.m, here on Seklo Sounds. Don't miss out on your weekly Sunshine Fix, featuring Roots, Rude Boy, Dub, Lovers Rock, Ska, One Drop, and much, much more. So go on, give your sound system a treat. Join me, wind down low, and skank the night away. One love. That's Wednesdays, 9 through to 11 p.m, live on Seklo Sounds.
It's a top, my selector.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seklosounds.org. Still to come on the show, travel news, including a little bit about the volcano in Iceland and travel insurance. At the moment, I'm speaking to Dipti from NaTHNaC about health issues for the traveller. We've talked about what happens when you're overseas, but what can you do before you go away? I'm now going to ask Dipti what a traveller should do before they travel. We've talked about what could happen when you're away, but what should every traveller do before they travel?
So what we normally say to people is that you really need to do your research before you travel. So at the time you're planning when to go, you're planning where your next trip might be, you might want to actually start researching what the risks might be at your destination. So NaTHNaC, for example, has got on its website information about specific health risks for particular countries. So you can do a bit of research that way. The Foreign and Commonwealth Office website obviously has useful information, particularly around security issues, safety issues, and they also have health information which they take mainly from us and link to us as well. Once you've done your research and looked at what might possibly be a risk, one of the things is actually see your GP, practice nurse, private travel clinic or a pharmacist for further advice on any sort of vaccines you might need, whether you need malaria prevention tablets, and maybe other preventive measures that might be relevant to the trip that you're going on. And we'd normally say that really you should seek health advice 6 to 8 weeks before you go overseas. But even if you haven't got time, it's never too late to get advice, even if it's last-minute travel. If you have pre-existing health problems, we would certainly say that actually it's best to obtain advice about going overseas before you book your trip, because some areas of the world might be ill-advised. So if you have a chronic disease, maybe something like diabetes or maybe kidney disease, heart disease, it's always worth checking with your doctor on the suitability of that trip. Once you've made sure that you've got the trip and you've done your research, etc., you should always make sure that you've got comprehensive travel insurance to cover you for health insurance to cover you for any health problems that you may experience. If you're going to the European Economic Area, there is a particular card you can get called the European Health Insurance Card, which will cover certain healthcare problems overseas, but not necessarily everything. So really do your research around medical insurance as well. And that's particularly important if you have pre-existing health problems, because some insurances will have exclusion clauses which you need to read very carefully. Other things, really, you might want to take a first aid kit that you make up yourself with you, sort of carrying essential first aid items, sunscreen, painkillers, antiseptic, insect repellents, diarrhea tablets. You can actually, a lot of pharmacies large pharmacies can give you advice on that, but your own GP practice can as well, and what sort of things to take with you. And the most important thing is make sure that you actually have a fun trip and don't let the health aspects put you off completely.
I'm glad you got that bit in at the end. Remember to have fun.
That's right.
Did a trip to Namibia a few years ago to work on an animal sanctuary, and I had to have so many injections. I was like a pincushion. I can remember the rabies jab is very pretty.
Yeah, the rabies is an interesting one, yes. So we haven't mentioned rabies, but it can be a particular risk for certain types of travel, yes.
Yes, it's best to have the jab before rather than trying to get the treatment afterwards.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So you said about these health issues, you monitor it. So how do we find out more about your centre and the health issues that we should check out? I mean, you've already mentioned the Facebook. You've got a Facebook page and Twitter, but you didn't say what they were called. Sorry? You didn't say what your Facebook page and Twitter account were called.
NaTHNaC. It's just NaTHNaC, and our Twitter account is Travel Health at NaTHNaC. You'll find us. I mean, our website, which is nathnac.org, is got a lot of information on there. We've got a health professional site and a traveller site, but actually travellers use the health professional site as well, and that's fine. On the website you'll find the various aspects that I talked about, country information pages where we talk about health risks in particular countries, outbreak surveillance area where you can look at outbreaks occurring worldwide. That tends to be of more relevance to health professionals. There's a whole section on clinical updates where you can look at what is really important at the current time. So we'll have a clinical update on something called chikungunya, which is a viral infection which is occurring in parts of the Caribbean. So you can read up about that, but we'll also have updates about things like Ebola as well. And then we also have a news section where we just make sure people are alerted to various changes in the news, various things that might be going on that might be of relevance to travellers, reports by the Foreign Office on issues that they've picked up, etc.
I visited the website, obviously, and the topic does sound scary and very difficult to understand, but the website is really clear and easy to follow, so nobody should have any problems with it.
Yeah, I mean, we actually are in the process of updating our website, so we're going to have that, because it's quite an old website, and some of it is very scientific as well, the content, and we're just trying to look at ways of making it more accessible and certainly more useful for both health professionals who might be advising travellers. You know, you might have a nurse in a very busy clinic who doesn't have much time when she's seeing her traveller to advise, but also for travellers as well, so that they can find things a bit more easily, etc. Yeah, we hope it does what it says.
I think it does. Okay, thanks, Dipti. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So once again, to keep up to date with travel health issues, you can check out the website, which is www.nathnac.org. As I mentioned, NaTHNaC is spelled NaTHNaC. Or you can follow them on Twitter, which is @NaTHNaC. Or if you're on Facebook, you can search for the National Travel Health Network and Centre, and you'll find their page. You can contact us, or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
This is Seclo Sounds, your community radio station. If you'd like to volunteer some of your time and skills with Seclo Sounds, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org and let us know how you would like to be involved. MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
Bright light city, gonna set my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn, so get those stakes up higher. There's 1,000 pretty women waiting out there. They're all living the devil may care, and I'm just a devil with love to spare. So Viva Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. How I wish that there were more than 24 hours in the day. Even if there were 40 more, I wouldn't sleep a minute away. Oh, there's blackjack and poker and the roulette wheel, a fortune won and lost on every deal. All you need is a strong heart and a nerve of steel. Viva Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas with your neon flashing and your one-armed bandits crashing all those hopes down the drain. Viva Las Vegas, turning day into nighttime, turning night into daytime. If you see it once, you'll never be the same again. I'm gonna keep on the run, I'm gonna have me some fun. If it costs me my very last dime, if I wind up broke, well, I'll always remember that I had a swing in time. I'm gonna give it everything I've got. Lady luck, please let the dice stay hot. Let me shoot a 7 with every shot. Viva Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas, Viva, Viva Las Vegas.
The John Guinn Travel Show. Checking it out before you check in on seclosounds.org. It's been a while since I've been able to play a cheesy tune. It's Elvis Presley and Viva Las Vegas, so you can tell what's coming next. I do have a problem when it comes to Las Vegas, and it harks back to what I mentioned earlier in the show about me not being able to pronounce things. As I just said, struggled to say, not being able to pronounce things. I keep going Las Vegas instead of Las Vegas. Yes, I don't know. Some mental block. So, Las Vegas is what I was speaking to Leanne about. Leanne represents Las Vegas and Nevada in their London tourist office. This interview was recorded at her office, and it's a little bit of background noise every now and again because she works in a busy place and people walking past the door. And every now and again the desk gets a clunk as we get excited about what we're talking about. But if you've never been to Las Vegas, it is just like they say in the tin, very bright, very colourful, very loud, but there's plenty to do outside it as well. It's becoming more popular for stags instead of going to Spain to get drunk and have a good time. Some of the people with more money are popping over to Las Vegas for a few days, and why not? It's definitely a way of remembering that you're going to get married. And also we find out how you can get married in Las Vegas too. And so far I've always managed to say Las Vegas instead of Las Vegas, so I'm doing okay. But anyway, here's Leanne and here's what she's got to share on Las Vegas.
Las Vegas is in the state of Nevada.
I'm guessing the people who go there, they concentrate on one particular part?
Well, I don't know. It depends what you've gone... I mean, what your brief is when you plan your trip. But some people will obviously go there and stay on the Strip. Some people might go there for a specific event, whereas others might use it just as a base to see other parts of America, particularly sort of other parts of Nevada. So, yeah.
Okay, so a bit of a mix.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get there?
It takes, I think it's about 11.
11 hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can fly direct from the UK. It's sort of one of its biggest markets out there. So, you can fly via BA or Virgin. So. Okay,
that's good. Good direct.
Yes.
What's the climate like? I'm guessing it's hot.
It's pretty hot. Yeah. So. The sort of mercury can hit about 40 degrees, so compared to our British standards, it's pretty warm.
I'll get grumpy if it goes over 10, so it won't be too good there.
Maybe not.
When would be the best time of year to go, or is it an all-year destination?
It's an all-year destination. As I said, you get sunshine all year round, so they don't necessarily have seasons where we might do, particularly because it's in that desert.
When it's really hot, how do you stay cool when you're going down the Strip?
How do you stay cool? Basically, what's one of the perks of Vegas is obviously the hotels, and something which is quite unusual is they're sort of interconnected, some of them, or you could, or the fact that we try to recommend people sort of go via that way, and it's a great way to see inside the different hotels as well, so a good chance to explore. But I know for a lot of people they may wish to get out in the great outdoors, but we'd advise, if you're probably to do that, maybe to travel around sort of dusk or when the sun's setting. Not only is it a little bit cooler, but it's a great opportunity for you to see the lights all come on, so you get your own sort of light show. So
so you can go through all the hotels and find out you've booked the wrong one.
Something like that.
So I suppose with all the interconnecting hotels, it's quite easy to get around, but is taxis easy to get?
Taxis are easy, limousines are easy as well, but they have like a really good transport system as well via buses, and they also have the monorail. So if you are, which sort of connects, if you wanted to, the Strip in itself is in total about 4 miles, just over that. So if you wanted to go say from the Stratosphere right down to the other end, you've got that opportunity to do it via the monorail, which is pretty cheap and easy around.
Okay, 4 miles walking doesn't appeal to me.
I know, yeah.
You said it's quite popular with the British. Do you know how many you visit each year?
In total to Las Vegas in 2012, so we've had about 40 million people go over there. But specifically for the UK market, in 2011 it was just over 400,000, so pretty big numbers. So
that's a lot of stag nights.
A lot of stag nights, yeah.
I'm guessing it's aimed at a particular market, but is there more to Vegas than that? Yeah,
well, again, it very much depends what you're going out there for. It's obviously the entertainment capital of the world, so if you're wanting to go out there to see a show, then by all means it's great for that. But also we really like to push it for its sort of foodie highlights. It's got a wealth of Michelin stars out there, so if you are going for that interest, then it's a great city to go to. Should you want to go out there for a bit of a detox, there's some great spas. Many of the hotels have fantastic spa facilities. Other ideas that you could do when you go out there, or even if you want to go out there for shopping. So the Cosmopolitan has Stitched. Then there's other facilities in the likes of Caesars and things like that. So there's more to it than maybe just the party atmosphere, the party, which it is. We know to grow and love with Vegas.
You mentioned shopping. I went out there 10 or 11 years ago for a wedding. And my wife was shopping, so I had a little kip on the bench.
Yes.
I got moved on. They don't like that. I won't do that again.
No.
Sure. So we mentioned that hotels are all interconnecting. Yes. Is it all large themed hotels, or is it more than that?
There are more. Obviously, that you've got your sort of smaller motels and things like that. But the hotels themselves, the big hotels, they're sort of owned by two groups, the MGM Grand as well as Caesars. They're the two main groups, but there are independent ones like the Guinn and the Cosmopolitan. But if you're looking for a really good deal, we'd probably recommend to go through one of the bigger hotels because there's such good value for money. And especially if it's like your first time as well. So yeah, but there is if you're wanting to go somewhere, yeah.
As well as value for money, do the hotels offer anything else?
In terms of packages, or
no? What do you get? Is it all casinos, or is there pools?
There's pools, there's spas. There's each of the hotels has its sort of own individual take on different things. Pools, spas, again, amazing restaurants, things like that. So yeah, you've got a great variety there.
Okay, sounds better than going into an old motel then.
Yeah.
What should every visitor do when they're there? Are there any must-sees and do's?
So must-sees and do's. So obviously we'd probably recommend that you go to see a show while you're out there. And the Cirque du Soleil is obviously only over there in Vegas, so it's probably one of the ones which we'd recommend. Shows, you've got to go and experience the Strip. It's fantastic, and if you fancy a flutter, then then maybe go with that. Other things to do, if you're looking for more daytime things, there's actually some more quirky things like the Neon Museum. So all the old sort of neon light fixtures and things that they've discarded are now in one place in a museum. So you can imagine how sort of interesting it is. So and other things like the Mob Museum as well. So it's again maybe the lesser things which people expect to know with Vegas, but if you're looking for something a little bit different, then we'd suggest you go there as well.
Neon Museum. I might get some decorating tips.
There you go. If you like strobe lighting.
A cab driver told me when I went there that if you know where to look and if you like to gamble, you can get everything for free. Is that true?
We maybe not in such literal terms, but it really all depends in terms of if you're going to stay at a table for a length of time, and depending how high your hand is, then you are probably going to be more inclined to get in more perks.
Okay.
But actually, the winner is I think they do a thing where you put down a buck and you get a free mojito. Or you have to. They just insist that you must tip the waiter or the waitress. So so there are some perks.
Okay, as long as you tip.
Yes, as long as you tip.
I did see a show when I went. I saw The Amazing Jonathan. I'm not even sure if he's still going, but I thought I was going to die laughing. There's just something funny about watching somebody stick scissors into somebody's head. It just
each to their own.
It cracks me up. It really does. Even laughing now, I shouldn't do that.
Step into the spotlight with me, Lucy, every Wednesday between 6 and 7 p.m. on Seclo Sounds. I'll have new music, the latest entertainment news, and interviews with local bands. If you're in a band, or if you have music that you think I should be playing, I'd love to hear from you. Email me, lucy@seclosounds.org, and join me every Wednesday from 6 till 7 for Spotlight on Seclo Sounds.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Still to come, travel news, but at the moment I'm speaking to Leanne, who represents Nevada and Las Vegas. We've been talking about what Las Vegas has to offer, and we're going to go into the second part of our chat now. This second part's in 2 parts. We finish with Las Vegas and then we move on to Nevada. And we've talked about various bits about Las Vegas, and now we're going to talk about what's probably on most people's minds other than gambling. Well, we will talk about gambling, but now we're going to start talking about weddings. So I went over for a wedding. How easy, not mine, a friend of mine, but how easy is it to get married over there?
It's really easy. So as long as you have a licence and you've got all that side of things sorted out, you could get married within the space of sort of 24 hours. So, and it's really easy.
Can you get married at any time of day or night?
Yes, I believe so. And and you can also, they now, I think, who was I speaking to? Someone said that we just did another trip. One of the girls, our team here, just got back from a weddings one a couple of months ago, and they went and experienced the drive-through wedding. So you can have a curbside wedding if that's really what you're after. I don't think a lot of women may be inclined to it, but if you're wanting, that's what it's famous for. Obviously, your last-minute arrangements. So yeah.
Not for me. I spent too long choosing my dress. I couldn't sit in the car. You mentioned the licence. Is that easy to get?
Yeah. Like some of them will have it all set up for you, whereas others it's really straightforward for them to set it up and sort of tell you what you need to do and how it can be authorised. So yeah.
Okay. Just show up, pay the bill, and say I do.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen sometimes that you can have your friends officiate the wedding if they go on the right website, become a priest or whatever of some certain religion. They can. You're looking at me like you've never heard of this before.
Yeah, well, no, I've seen that as well. It's not something which I've necessarily touched upon before, though. So
no.
We'd probably maybe stick with your
With
Elvis impersonator.
Yeah. Stick with Elvis. Don't use your friend.
Yeah.
So is the drive-through thing the most outrageous wedding story you've heard?
In typical Vegas fashion, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I guess it's going to be quite big on New Year's Eve. Is that something you need to plan well in advance?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely recommend that you plan in advance. It's probably one of the busiest nights of the year for the destination. If you're looking for atmosphere in one of the sort of best New Year's which you're ever going to have, then it's great. But because it's such a busy time of year, obviously the crowds and the rates are high and things like that. So if that's not really your thing, maybe go with a slightly different time of year, because the great thing about Vegas is it's constantly pumping, so you're always going to have something to do, not just at New Year.
Okay, I'm too grumpy for New Year's Eve. I'll have to go another time. Do you have any do's and don'ts for people who are gambling?
Do's and don'ts. I'm not sure really. Just again, if you are sat there for a while, I think it's just maybe just to tip and things like that. So probably a good policy all round for Vegas is just make sure that you get into that etiquette, because I think it's something across the whole of America that you need to familiarise yourself with, and it's sort of what they come to expect. So
okay, I guess you should take care of your health as well, because you won't know what time of day it is if you're sitting in the right place.
I was going to say no sign of daylight.
Right. And are you going to get married out there?
No. I'd love to go to a wedding out there, but not for me.
Not for you. Okay. Thank you. We'll pop on to Nevada now, seeing it's in the same. Yeah. Is Las Vegas the only direct route into Nevada from the UK?
Yeah, it is. Or if you are to go from the UK as well, you could consider maybe going to LA first, and then sort of doing a bit of a self-drive, or over to Vegas, but that will take sort of a couple of days. So if you're wanting to be there straight away, then via Vegas, yeah.
Okay. What is there to do in Nevada? I mean, we just spoke about Las Vegas. You've got the gambling.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to do out there?
Again, it's got like an amazing landscape out there. Other things are like the sort of national parks, these sort of ghost towns, and I even know that it's sort of known for its sort of UFO site, things like that. Okay. So
didn't know that. I have to go out there for that one. You mentioned the ghost towns. Are they easy to find if you're going on your own drive? Are they safe? I don't mean about ghosts and stuff. I mean they're structurally safe.
Yeah, I think if you were to go via a tour, obviously they'll sound out all of that side of things. But there's some great ones out there. I think in terms of like the old mining communities. There's one over in where is it now? There's one in the ghost town of Rhyolite. So that sounds quite interesting in terms of, like, I think after the mining boom, it's just been deserted and abandoned ever since. So since the 1920, it was abandoned. So yeah, it's definitely worth to combine. But again, if you're going to do it in a bit of a tour, then you get to see more than one. So yeah.
Okay, I've read somewhere that something called Highway 50 is lonely.
Yes.
Why is it lonely?
It is. It's just untouched sort of land, really.
Okay.
So, but they do. You go through the sort of mining towns and the cemeteries and state parks. So I think it is quite an area and a lonely place, as you said. But travellers that do manage to get through it get given a survival certificate. They also get a Route 50 label pin and a bumper sticker. So you know,
worth doing it just for that.
Yes, yeah.
How does the weather across the state compare to that in Vegas?
It's very similar. So again, that sort of same terrains as Vegas, but because there are some more mountainous regions, it may be a little bit colder in those parts.
So the mountainous regions is kind of an outdoorsy type of place.
Yes, yeah.
Not somewhere for high heels.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Maybe combine with Vegas. Make sure you combine. Pack the right materials.
I've read that you can. I've read a lot about this sort of place. Opals, you can go mining for opals.
Yeah, which is pretty unique in itself, because I know a lot of countries want to hold on to their sort of any precious stones and things like that. But yeah, you get given a kit and you can go off on your merry way and find these opals. And whatever you find, you're allowed to keep. Even if you find the rarest, which I believe is where is it? The black fire opal, even if you find one of those. So yeah,
you can
definitely
just walk out of customs
there
with
you
it.
go, yeah. Definitely worth a go.
We might have a bit of trouble getting in here.
Yes. Get stopped at customs.
So that's my next birthday present sorted out. An opal mining kit. Yeah. With Nevada, is it something like a twin centre, so you spend a week or so doing outdoorsy stuff, mining for opals, and then go to Vegas, or do you just go to Vegas and then pop out to Nevada on day trips?
You can do it as a bit of a twin. If you do it, you can do maybe opting for a bit of a self-drive. So if you begin in Vegas and then go over to Nevada, then you can visit the different sort of cowboy country areas, maybe then and then different other regions. But yeah, it can definitely be combined together, but I'd say this would need to take about 5 to 6 days. So
okay,
yeah.
And do you have a recommended itinerary for a couple on their honeymoon?
Oh, okay, honeymoon again combined with Vegas, is that? So maybe if you were to do that, you could start off in Nevada doing maybe a luxury ranch. Maybe do go with a wild horse eco resort or something along those lines, and then go through Carson City to get the short haul flight to Las Vegas.
Okay, great, thank you.
Cheers.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Seclo Sounds exists to bring people and communities together to celebrate all that's best about the city of Milton Keynes. We produce a variety of music and speech programs, and you've heard some of the promos in this show. And we're produced by local people and run by over 60 volunteers. However, there's always room for more, so if you have a program idea or a skill that you want to offer, please send us an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org. And of course, as we're all volunteers, we can't operate without the help from our partners, and one such partner is Interaction. Seclo Sounds is based at the old rectory, which is the home of Interaction MK. They've been bringing arts to life in Milton Keynes for over 35 years. They use the arts to improve the life chances of disabled people and others in challenging circumstances through shared created activity. Their programs help participants to develop creative, personal and social skills. To find out more, please visit them at www.interactionmk.org.uk. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. So the websites to find out more about Las Vegas and Nevada are www.lasvegas.com and www.travelnevada.com. And now, travel news. Well, they say once bitten, twice shy. Well, some people can anyway. There's been another volcano in Iceland in the news this week. It's causing a bit of a panic and a stir with travel agents and travel companies around the UK and possibly Europe too. At the moment, nothing's happening, so everything's going to be normal. But I saw a story about the volcano and travel insurance in the Sunday Telegraph, published on the 24th of August. And according to this report, written by one of their reporters, just 1 in 4 insurance policies covers holidaymakers if travel plans are disrupted by volcanic ash. You would think after last time, with the volcano I can't pronounce, I'm not going to try and pronounce, but it's that volcano in Iceland, you would think that people would be more careful about the travel insurance they're purchasing and making sure they read the small print. But it seems that 75% of the people don't really care and don't think it's going to happen again. And I can see on Facebook over the last few days, because of this story, there's been a lot of people travelling in the next few days who are hard panicking about it. So, always check the travel insurance, make sure it covers you. That's my advice. But the story continues to say that you could be out of pocket if the volcano does erupt and flights are cancelled as before. And of the 20 major travel insurers, the report says just 5, which are Age UK, Viper Protect, John Lewis, Saga and Sainsbury's, would compensate tourists who took out standard cover if airlines suspended their flights because of the ash. If you want more likely to have the cover, you need to spend more money on premium policies, the report said. And continuing with travel insurance and when you're going to be paid out, of course, with the terrorism problems we're having at the moment, the story goes on to say that only a minority of insurers would pay out in cases of terrorism, with 8 out of 20, or civil unrest, which was only 5 out of 20. Just to remind you that the volcanic eruption in 2010 led to 107,000 flights being cancelled, and over 10 million passengers were affected. And a lot of people had a lot of trouble getting home, and there's a real panic about who's responsible, who's liable, who has to do what. So, as always, check your travel insurance. Make sure you're covered for things you've heard that happened in the past, such as a volcanic eruption. And then you can just relax a little bit more. Thomas Cook has been forced to pay £17,000 in compensation to a holidaymaker who suffered from horrendous ongoing gastric illness following a Thomas Cook holiday in Cuba. Paul Hughes from Redditch fell ill with severe sickness and diarrhoea during a 2-week stay at a 4-star Iberostar hotel with his wife in January 2011, which was booked through Thomas Cook. He contacted law firm Irving Mitchell, who I've mentioned on the show before, after being appalled at the hygiene conditions he faced at the hotel, which was described by the hotel chain as top luxury on its website. The firm's legal team investigated his reports of experiencing undercooked food being served, dirty public areas, and seeing the chef leaving the toilet without washing his hands. Thomas Cook did admit liability for the illness shortly after the legal proceedings were issued, but the case eventually went to trial when Mr. Hughes refused Thomas Cook's offer of compensation. And following the trial at County Court in Birmingham, Thomas Cook was ordered to pay more than £17,000. Thomas Cook did say that it was important to note that our own findings with regards to the exact nature of the illness differed greatly from that of Mr. Hughes's representatives. However, while we are disappointed by the outcome of this court ruling, we accept the judge's verdict and are satisfied that this matter has now been resolved. Mr. Hughes said his bowel habits still hasn't returned to normal. I hope you're not eating while you're listening to this. He went on to say that it's been very hard to get used to this, and he used to eat out a lot with his family but tend not to anymore, as he's too worried about suffering something similar to what he experienced when he was in Cuba. He said that nothing can turn back the clock, but I am relieved that the legal battle is now over. I hope that my case acts as a reminder to those in the travel industry about the importance of following good hygiene practices so no one has to go through a similar ordeal. As you heard earlier in the show when I was speaking to NaTHNaC, we talked about travellers' diarrhoea. And I wonder if you've been affected by illness when you've been in a hotel. Did you take up the complaint and what happened? Let me know at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Well, that's the end of another edition of the Travel Show. I hope you found the information from Dipti for NaTHNaC interesting. I did. I learnt a lot by reading their website and by talking to her. If you've had any problems with illness, such as Mr. Hughes who sued Thomas Cook, did you take the case further? What happened? Let me know. Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. And also the information I shared about Las Vegas and Nevada. Have you got married in Las Vegas? Can you share your photos with us? Again, Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. And also, the volcano that happened in 2010, was you caught up with that? What happened? How did you get home? If you can, Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show to share your experiences and let us know how the travel company you dealt with helped you get home, if they did, so we can see who the good companies are and who the bad companies are. And I hope you can join me next time on the Travel Show with John Guinn on seclosounds.org, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.